the United Opposition Leaders, issued from the Liberation House. Fellow Kenyans and friends of Kenya, we thank you for joining us this morning. The United Opposition has one aim: to rescue and liberate our beloved nation from the clutches of the tyrannical and inept RUTO dictatorship. That is why we and the majority of Kenyans say unequivocally, one term. Just a week ago, members of the United Opposition, whilst on a Meet the People tour, a right that is enshrined in our Constitution, were met by violence of police bullets and a state-sponsored militia. Specific members of our teams, namely Senator Methu, Honorable Victor Munyaka, and Jamnik Kamau, were targeted for assassination. The evidence is clear in the bullet holes aimed at specific windscreens of their vehicles. We thank God for their protection. Otherwise, we would today be eulogizing them. Their only crime having been exercising their freedom of association and expression. We will not tire from reminding the RUTO administration that freedom of movement, expression, and association are among the fundamental rights guaranteed in our Constitution and in the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, as well as on the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. On Tuesday this week, after the Halloween attack, the United Opposition presented irrefutable evidence to the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, on this criminal assault and attempted assassination of our leaders. We expect IPOA to treat this evidence with a grave concern that it deserves. Any attempt to unlawfully take the life of a human being, regardless of ethnicity, gender, or rank, ought to be condemned in the strongest terms possible. We therefore expect IPOA to hold the commanding officer who led this assault accountable. The Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, and Interior Cabinet Secretary, Kipchumba Murkomen, must be held accountable. The buck stops with them. We can no longer allow the brazen criminal acts and subversion of the rule of law to continue because of orders from above. We are saying enough is enough. We have heard RUTO saying enough is enough, but we remind him as an employee, you can never tell your employer enough is enough. You can only pack your bags and go. We are his employers. We are telling him enough is enough. This has to stop. He cannot create a Haiti-like militia in Kenya to destroy the peace and tranquility that we have been having. Fellow Kenyans, our country is ailing. Some even say it is at war with itself, not because of the global recession or pandemic, but because of an epidemic called William Samoei Ruto. The instruments of power are in the hands of a person who simply doesn't care for the well-being of the citizens he purports to govern. For instance, we are aware of a cargo of 25,000 metric tons of sugar that recently landed in our port at Mombasa. This sugar is already on its way to Western Kenya, to a Western Kenya sugar factory factory to be repackaged and sold to Kenyans. Yet, it was condemned as unfit for human consumption in its country of origin. That it has been cleared quickly and is now headed to be distributed in this country shows the heartlessness of this regime. They have made money their god. We demand that these consignments already earmarked as publicly condemned be earmarked as publicly condemned and destroyed immediately, so that it is not used to poison Kenyans. I will let one of our youth read the rest.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Ken Babu, and I proceed. Fellow Kenyans, this is a criminal regime that not only resorts to willful violence against its people, but resorts to physically harming its populace unfit for public consumption of goods, but also attempts to limit its people via willful and defunding education, which is a right. Just a week ago, the Cabinet Secretary for Finance, John Bahari, publicly declared that Kenya can no longer sustain free primary and secondary education. The proposed cuts to capitation and demand that Kenyan parents pay more for the education is an affront to Constitution, having been entrenched in Article 43(1)(f), which guarantees the rights to education for everyone, while Article 53(1)(b) specifically ensures every child's right for free and compulsory basic education. Hence, defunding education is not only insensitive but unconstitutional. We implore us to reason to these words of Abraham Lincoln, and I quote, "Do not interfere with anything in the Constitution. That must be maintained, for it is the only safeguard of our liberties." We must tell the illegitimate regime of Mr. RUTO that Kenyans want education, health, and other basic needs, and not handouts in the name of empowerment. And therefore, we all agree that having Mr. RUTO as the Kenyan president today is one of the most historical mistakes that ever happened in this country. And therefore, one term is unstoppable. One term.
Another one?
Yeah. It will be finished by 6. Honorable.
A lady. Some lady.
No.
Let's have a lady.
It's gone.